Hello. Hello, good morning, and welcome to day 3 of the Cities Mission Conference 2025. It's so good to see all of you here, fresh and new. Day 3, energy is up. Okay, let's see how we're doing here today in the morning. Who was at the dinner yesterday? Yeah. Who had a really good hot shower when you got back? Yeah. But I heard some of you had a really good method on actually dealing with the cold, which was to hit it off on a dance floor. So who were the ones who were actually dancing yesterday? Yeah, they're probably not here yet. But I think it's such a great way of actually energizing your body. So maybe just a quick show of hands as well on this scale that you know by now. How much of a dancer would you say you are? If you're more the kind of person who's like, on a dance floor, you can probably find me in the corner behind the DJ somewhere in the shadow, then you're down here. If you're the person who's like, I have my dance moves, I know the shopping wheel and ear stick, you have your moves. And then up here, you're really like, I am the dancing queen, young and sweet, age doesn't count for me. Where do you find yourself? It's like, okay, some are up here. Happy to hear. So I really got the impression that we had a good energy yesterday at the party and at the dance floor. What's the energy like right now, right here in the room? Okay, again, on a scale. Do not ask me about my energy, it's day 3. Like here, you're like, I'm still good to go, and I'm happy because this keeps me energized. And up here is like, do not ask me about my caffeine intake. I don't want to tell you how many coffees I had because my energy is so high. Where are you? Okay, it sounds like we should do an energizer. Okay, let's do a quick one. Let's just get up quickly. It's not going to be too heavy today, but I thought we'd do maybe a breathing exercise, which is also nice to just get us grounded and arrive here. Okay, the way how we do it is we just breathe in deeply through our nose, and then we hold the breath for a second, and then breathe out through the mouth. Okay, so let's breathe in through the nose and then just really fill our lungs with this oxygen boost. And then we hold it for just a few seconds. And then we breathe out through the mouth. That's good. We do it again. We really fill our lungs. So it's like we breathe in. We hold it. And we breathe out through the mouth. And we're going to do this again. And this time, when you breathe out through the mouth, you can do a loud sigh. And you just let go of all the tiredness and the tensions and everything that might be a bit difficult right now, okay? So you can really dare to be a bit like, let it all out. Okay, let's do it. Let's breathe in. Let's hold it. And with a sigh. Oh, that's great. Let's do it again. Okay, breathe in. And you can sigh it out. And we're going to do this a third time. And this time you can use your body as well. When you breathe out, you do a loud sigh. And you can also let it all out, okay? So we breathe in. We hold it. You can shake your arms. You can shake your legs. You can shake your whole body and wobble a bit. And we do it one more time, okay? And now you can let go of everything that is still tired in your bodies. We breathe in one more. And we let go of everything. And we breathe and we shake it. And with this, I welcome you to day 3. Thank you so much for doing this little energizing exercise. And I would say with this, we are a bit more present. And presence is also an important quality when it comes to leading figures. And today is all about visionary leadership and how leaders can actually support us in stepping into action. Today we have both mayors and EU representatives present, and they're going to talk about how they can actually align their efforts across governance levels. And at the end of the conference, you obviously also have the site visits to look forward to today. So I would say let's start with the sessions, what will it take, strategic enablers for the 2030 transition. And it's my pleasure that we have a very special message to open us up on how to turn progress into transformation. And the message comes directly from Executive Vice President for a Clean, Just and Competitive Transition from the European Commission, Commissioner Teresa Ribera.
Dear mayors, city representatives, partners and contributors to the city's mission, it is a great pleasure to address you today in the third and final day of the fourth edition of the Cities Missions Conference. This is happening in Vilnius, our European Green Capital 2025. We are so proud of you. Over the past 3 years, the Cities Mission has become a powerful driver of climate ambition and innovation. Together, mission cities have committed reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 200 million tons of CO2 equivalent by 2030. That's the same as the total annual emissions of the Netherlands and Croatia combined. But what truly sets this mission apart is not just the pledges or plans, it is the action. Your cities are not simply talking about solutions, they are acting. They are walking the path. You are testing them, refining them, and inspiring others across Europe and beyond. This mission is not just about projects, policies, it is about people. It is about citizens. It is about neighbors. It is about you, your teams, and your communities. Everybody working every single day to improve the air we breathe, to transform the transport systems, to build greener neighborhoods, and to shape a better future. Your efforts are making the difference, and for that, I thank you. We know change is never easy. It takes bold actions, long-term planning, and cooperation across every level of governance. But you have already proven cities can be powerful innovation hubs for change. That's why today's motto, "What will it take?" is both timely and essential. I believe it will take everything we've got, every tool, every lever, so that we can live. And when you succeed, Europe becomes greener, safer, more innovative, more competitive, more appealing, healthier, higher quality of life. Your local actions are generating real demand for clean technologies, green materials, digital solutions, welfare. Cities are essential to deploying clean technologies, driving energy-efficient renovations, transforming urban mobility, and building local circular economies. You are turning ambition into delivery. Through the Cities Mission, we are here to support you with the tools, resources, and networks you need so that you can plan, innovate, and to bring citizens along on this journey. Let's continue working together across borders, sectors, and communities. Let's strengthen climate resilience, accelerate the transition to renewable energy solutions, and ensure that the green transition is both just and inclusive, provides room for innovation. I especially welcome the Cities Mission outreach to our neighbors, including Ukraine. This is how we build lasting transformation, acting together. Because together, we can turn today's progress into tomorrow's transformation, reaching climate neutrality by 2030 in your cities, paving the way to a climate-neutral Europe by 2050. Thank you for your commitment, your creativity, and your leadership. The path to climate neutrality runs through our cities and with you. And you, continuing to drive, will help to get it done. Thank you so much.
So let's step into the first conversation of the day on what will it take. Please welcome back on stage to guide us through this session, the Cities Mission Manager and Acting Director General of DG Environment from the European Commission. Please welcome Patrick Child.
So, good morning, and welcome to this first session of the day. And thanks to Katerina for waking us all up and after yesterday. Today, we want to discuss how we can get from the many inspiring examples that we've seen, the ideas in your Climate City contracts, and to transform those ideas into scaling up and a bigger take-up. We now have almost 100, 92 cities with the mission label. And so we're very much in the deployment, implementation scale of the mission. Many of you are already talking to the European Investment Bank, working with the Capital Hub, in particular, on how we can develop and deliver innovative solutions to the huge investment challenges that you face. And one thing that I want to highlight in just setting the scene for this session, Bankers Without Borders, the partners that we're working with through the Net Zero Cities platform on the Capital Hub, are publishing some really interesting figures today, which are the sort of aggregated analysis of some of the Climate City contracts of what is the projected demand in terms of investment for key industrial sectors, and therefore making the link with the agenda that we have in Europe for competitiveness, growth, resilience and autonomy. And the good news is that while the figures of course are very large, sort of 300 billion euros of investment for the 100 cities taken together, the modeling suggests that this is a good investment, that it pays off, and that you get back on the return on investment directly in terms of benefits, savings in energy costs, other benefits. And if you start calculating in also the indirect benefits, so improved air quality, reductions in healthcare costs, for example, then we've got a 30% return on investment. So very, very exciting figures, which I think directly link the work we're doing on the mission and all of your strategies on climate to the broader economic and political agenda in Europe. So while these figures are sort of first sort of estimation, and I know we're working with colleagues in the European Investment Bank to refine them and deepen the analysis, I think they give a very powerful message that what we're doing is not only good for the environment, good for climate, but it's also something which is economically makes sense. And I think in present context, that's very important. So that's what I wanted to say just to sort of set the scene, but I don't want to dominate the stage because we've got a really good and rich panel to talk to us this morning. And so I'd like to welcome on the stage our panelists. Firstly, very honored to have Lithuanian Environment Minister Povilas Poderskis from the host country. We also have Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Thomas Ostras. And we have two mayor's representatives. We have firstly Deputy Mayor of Dublin, Donna Cooney, and also from Leuven, Mayor Mohamed Ridouani, who's had the mission label for some time. And also we have Elise Gross, Director of Sustainability, Real Estate and Development at Sweco. So a good mix of colleagues in the panel. So thanks for welcoming them. And I'd like to kick things off perhaps with a question to the Minister, please. There are two mission cities from Lithuania in our mission. Our host, of course, Vilnius, also European Green Capital this year, and Tauragė. Be interested to know from the perspective of your national government, how you see the importance of the work of these cities, and how a national government can organize to support the cities in the mission, given the broader political challenges and uncertainties that we're all facing on the international stage. Minister, please.
Thank you, and hello everyone. Nice to see such a great crowd interested in the topics that we're discussing. I think it's crucial for cities today overall in Europe to take up the lead of green transformation and innovation, because national government is mostly focused on different issues now: security, stability, energy independence and whatnot. And the attention shift definitely changed during the last several years, and even though the ambition of neutrality, of net zero, and even bigger ambition than what's coming in the following years, I think we're going to set the 2040 target for 90% of net neutrality. So the ambition is even bigger, and I think that it's necessary for our cities to take up leadership here and go for the greener and better environment for our citizens, because it's where it matters most. It's where there are most people, and there are most, on the other hand, pollution and other emissions and business activity that generates the things that could impact our livelihoods and so on. So for Vilnius and Tauragė, we invite them to take up this leadership role, gather other cities if they're interested, and encourage them to be interested. And our doors are open for discussions of how we can enable them to make faster decisions, faster solutions, and even sometimes support in their initiatives by monetary measures.
Thank you very much. I think that's an important message that we discuss in national contexts with many member states, is how can the cities in the mission working together create a platform for outreach to other cities in the country and then engage with the national government. So a really good example. Thank you, Minister. And now to turn to Deputy Mayor Donna Cooney from Dublin. I mean, you got the mission label yesterday. Congratulations for that. And one of the things that we particularly welcomed in your Climate City contract was your strong collaborative approach, where you were also reaching out not just to the actors in the city, but also to neighboring authorities. And I'd be interested if you could share with us today what you've learned from that process in terms of stakeholder engagement and citizens.
Yeah, it's essential because, we need to, as we heard there from the Commissioner, we need to use all tools in the boxes, but we need to use all people, whether you're working at, government level, whether you're, at local authority level, whether you're, leadership in your community. And we have 4 local authorities within the Dublin region. We're in the city, and, we have the largest population, the most densely populated area in the city. But within the regions, it's really important we bring that and even wider out into the wider greater Dublin area, as we call it. Because they're the people that work in the city. They may not live in the city, but they commute into the city. They come, into the city. So to them, it's important to engage them within that, because we need all of those, people on board, because when we're looking to have sort of a lower traffic city, which we're working with the National Transport Authority on that, and thankfully we're working really on the same page with them, then we need to engage with Dublin Bus, which are another stakeholders, because, we want, the buses are moving to being electric buses, but, we want to maybe reroute them, put in other routes, so we engage a lot with the public. There's a lot of surveys. We also, within the model that we have, we have public participation within our strategic policy committees, within our development plan, and just even sometimes we just put out surveys. It's called Your Dublin, Your Voice, and consistently when we engage with people, we have feedback that they want climate action, they're concerned about climate, they want cleaner air, they want all these things. So that allows us then to come back and say, well, this is what the public want. So that brings the politicians with you, because they understand that it's important for the public, these issues. So, that's, you have to work with everybody, and then we're really lucky to have some really good universities within Dublin as well, with, UCD and Trinity College, and a lot of, innovative companies, small companies that are working in innovation. So we can, tap into those resources as well to be able to use to show that what we're doing is correct, that we can look for the data and look for the predictions and be able to say, well, this is, this is justified. What we're doing is justified. We're not just making it up and doing it for the sake of it because we want to win that, which we did, want to win that lovely plaque, and I'm really excited about bringing it back to Dublin with us this evening. But, it's because, what we're doing, we're following a path so that everybody's lives will be better and that we have a future. And we're engaging particularly with children as well. And it's not just because children have pester power, it's because it's their future and they actually have very innovative ideas themselves as well. And, they are the ones that are literally thinking outside the box sometimes when we have sort of got very set in our ways. And they see sometimes, the truth, and they see through a lot of the jargon or a lot of the sort of status quo that we've become used to.
Yeah. No, well, thanks very much, and congratulations again on this really deep and successful outreach to all of your communities and stakeholders. But of course, as you say, I mean, the key question is then, well, what does being in the mission, what does getting the label bring in practice? What are the and a lot of that comes down to the funding that you can attract for different things. And so really great to have Thomas Östras with us, who is Vice President of the European Investment Bank. And the bank has been a magnificent partner working with us also in sort of testing and reviewing the quality of the investment plans in the Climate City contracts. But also a great partner in having a dedicated lending window of €2 billion for cities with the label. So, Thomas, opportunity perhaps to hear from you. Talk a little bit more about the role of the bank and how you see next steps.
Thanks a lot. And now the sound is here. It's great to see all of you. I must say I am proud to be European when I think about what we are doing here this morning. Because I just came back from Washington, D.C. for the annual meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. And as you know, the biggest economy on Earth is, at least for the time being, turning its back on the discussion on climate and climate investments. And they are shareholders in many development banks, and those banks are now struggling to sort of try to hide the word climate in their documents. And try to speak about something else, economic growth preferably, hoping to be able to stay on course a little bit at least, but with the US watching over them. But in Europe, we can proudly say that we stay on course. We know that this is the future. We know that the innovation of the future comes from climate neutrality ambitions. We know that we can make our cities better, our citizens' lives better, but we need to do a lot of investments. And the European Investment Bank, being the biggest multilateral development bank in the world, and being the climate bank of the European Union, can be a partner to you in that endeavor. So climate bank for us means that more than 50% of all our lending must be climate and environmentally related. But everything we do must be Paris aligned. So we do, of course, a lot of health investments, a lot of infrastructure, but climate is a focus of ours. And it is a very practical decision that we took to become the climate bank. We, for instance, do no longer finance unabated gas, oil and coal energy production. We go into renewable energy. We work a lot with grids, local, national and cross-border grids that is so necessary now to be able to really effectivize our systems. And we work a lot with energy efficiency. And there we have tremendous opportunities. And often we partner up with cities, municipalities in that work. Congratulations also to the cities that was mission labeled at this conference. That gives us opportunities to work with more municipalities, more cities where we can be supportive. And what we do is lending, blending and advisory. Lending, of course, we're a bank. Blending, we like to blend resources because we never, almost never finance 100%. We finance traditionally 50% of a project. So we need blending, we need other financiers, and we like to crowd in private financiers. And that is, I think, very important in the future. And thanks to the tight cooperation with the Commission, we have the possibility to do advisory. And I think that is often very important for many municipalities and many cities, to see the holistic approach, to see how to implement in the right order to make projects bankable. And there we can be of great help. One of our specialities as a bank is that we have very strong financial expertise. You need to have that, of course, as a bank. But we also have very strong sector expertise that can be part of your expertise in a dialogue to see how do we structure investment in the best possible way to create a number of steps towards climate neutrality. A 2 billion euro lending envelope dedicated to this. We have a strong pipeline, including projects in Porto, in Leuven, in Barcelona. We have EV charging infrastructure investments in Spain and Ireland. We do advisory work in Valencia on port infrastructure, in Porto on climate financial reporting, in Riga on photovoltaic infrastructure. So we do a broad set of measures, and we are really, really interested in working together with you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Thomas. And indeed, I mean, we really have, I think, established a very, very strong partnership with the bank, and I know that you're working directly with many cities, and thanks for the examples. You mentioned, of course, also your work with Leuven, and we're very happy to have Mayor Mohamed Ridouani with us, who's also chair of the Mayor's Advisory Group, so providing us with this sort of real sounding board for direct contact with the mayors. But I'd like to ask you, if I may, Mohamed, looking beyond the sort of grants and loans that you might be able to get from public sources like the European Investment Bank. I mean, Leuven has also been, with the label for some time, very creative in looking at working also with the sort of portfolio approach with the private sector. And be interested to hear, what sort of funding gaps you've been identifying and how the capital hub that we set up to support cities with a label has been contributing to your work. Please.
Yeah, good morning. Well, in Leuven, we use all the means we can have. And the Capital Hub has been one of those things that helped us to actually structure the projects that we have. And as I have explained before, in Leuven, we have this platform. It's called Leuven 2030. It's a governmental, it's a kind of systemic approach of the climate policy, where the city works together with university, companies, knowledge institutions, grassroots organizations and citizens in a very systemic way. And one of the objectives is to make sure that we accomplish what we call 86 breakthrough projects that make up like 80% of the emissions that we want to do away with. And it's about circularity, it's about retrofitting of building, district heating, etc. Now, to get there, of course, we need to finance them. And I'm happy that we can work with the Capital Hub, we work with the EIB, we work with the private. But I want to make two remarks. It's that, in my opinion, what is important is that we can do some de-risking. De-risking of capital, but also de-risking of people. And in our expertise and experience is that climate policy ideally should not be a risky business. Climate policy, if you want to achieve your projects, you need the public investments first, and then the private will step in. This means that we have to collaborate. This means that EIB can help us to, especially through a guarantee position, can help us with low-rate loans, can help us with advice, and then we see that the private sector will step in. So de-risking of heavy, sometimes non-bankable, but very necessary projects is crucial. And so it's about projects that are indeed for the common good, and they are necessary. So we need to work on that and so to do some risking there. And two, and I will end with that, getting these projects done is heavy. And it takes a lot of time, and you need the best-in-class people. And you will attract a lot of talent. You can attract them. The crucial thing is how to keep them and how to keep them motivated. So next to de-risking capital, we need to de-risk our leadership, our people, those who do it day in, day out, invest in them and make sure we take the burden out of their way. And then you will see, especially when they see the results and you show the results. So the top leadership should align on the mission, should align on the vision, and do everything they can to help the people that get it done. So in my opinion, leadership should not be responsible for results. Leadership should be responsible for the people that are responsible for the results. So that's my last message that I want to give with you. So capital, yes, and then the people.
Well, thanks very much. And I think that makes a very good transition to our last speaker, Elise Gross, who is Director of Sustainability for Real Estate Development at Sweco, which is one of Europe's leading architecture and engineering consultancy, and therefore, I think really well placed to give us a perspective from the private sector. I mean, we know that 80% of the investment needed for the clean transition in cities will be coming from the private sector. And so it'd be good just to complete the introductory interventions to hear from you how you see the role of business in the mission based on your experience, particularly obviously in the Swedish context, and your ideas of how we can do better in engaging businesses to join in and participate in the work we're doing.
Thank you. Well, Sweco operates with the development of the transportation system, energy systems, industrial markets, as well as city development and real estate, just to give you an idea of what markets we enable. And I think the major part of private investments is very simple how we operate. If we establish carbon as a similar or an equal currency as the monetary ones, euro, Swedish krona, whatever, then we will be part of the game. And the rules are fairly simple for us, the private sector. If put a target, a measurable target in place, for example, city development, that we have to meet. And if we don't meet it, there are disadvantages. That is the classical whip. And on the other part, it is the carrot. And that means establish rules so there is a competitive advantage if we do good on the carbon budgeting. So I will give you a city example because it's better explained with examples, right? In Sweden, the city of Uppsala, I think, were the first ones to set measurable targets for net zero carbon. And of course, that sparked us, the private sector, to innovate and invest in innovation for carbon cost and design. Tools that enable us to get easy views of how much does this building or city development cost in terms of carbon and in terms of money to develop. So for Uppsala, we were able to design the whole city development and estimate the carbon budget. What will it cost in CO2 to build this? And then, of course, the developers have to, when they do bidding for land allocation, they bid not only with money, they bid also with carbon, which is within accordance to this carbon budget of the development. And this sparked innovation from the developing side, and now you have developers like Klöven who have built their first housing as low as 95 kilocarbon per square meter, which is fairly good if you compare to a standard house in Sweden might be 400. So this, by setting measurable targets, the private sector invests in innovation to meet these targets. And on the other hand was the competitive advantage, right? So we, Sweco, we took this C3 City, this carbon design tool, and we went to the city of Trelleborg, a waterfront city with, rising sea levels, and they had to change their harbor into a city. So with this modeling system, carbon modeling system, we asked them, instead of just reaching net zero, why don't we try to reach a carbon positive, that the city is a carbon sinkage instead of emitting carbon? That would be really part of the solution. And they said yes. And then we were able to attract some developers into that same mission. And now we have the first, might be the first world scenario for a carbon positive city development that actually eats carbon instead of emitting it. And of course, that is a huge competitive advantage for all the stakeholders involved. And now, to be able to make a carbon positive city development, that means we have to act on the systemic level. The energy systems have to be smart. The mobility systems have to be very clever. We have to input an urban forest in order to eat the carbon out of the atmosphere. So, and we have to use a lot of reused materials, etc. And that means that this whole strategy makes the development in line with the EU taxonomy. So I think Thomas over there will be very happy to invest in Trelleborg. And of course, if Thomas is happy to invest in Trelleborg, all the other finance institutions will say, yes, I will put my money on this project, and everybody will be happy.
Thank you. No, indeed, and I was going to come straight back to Thomas, and so you made the link already for me. I mean, you've talked a little bit, Thomas, in your earlier remarks about the work, the advisory work that the bank can do. But as we see, I mean, often putting together the projects that cities are working on involve a sort of complex mix of different stakeholders. You know, what sort of advice can you give to cities about how to deal with this? And, you know, what's the approach that the bank brings to, you know, managing the different and sometimes very conflicting partners in funding projects in cities?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think it is not only lack of financing that can be a challenge, but it is also to sort of how to coordinate the different measures to be done. At the same time, cities are very well placed to be coordinators in that respect. Because cities often have this tight cooperation, as we heard also from these examples, with the different actors in their cities, private, public, sovereign and local. And they have the opportunity, if they have the will and the energy to do it, we are very much interested in supporting them with our advisory. But I think the cities themselves are great actors when it comes to reaching climate neutrality. One of the challenges is, of course, to get private sector in, because we all know that this is not possible without massive private investments the coming decades. We have expertise in how to structure financing packages with de-risking, for instance, so that it will be interesting for private investors to come in. But the municipality often, the city often have the very good coordination and cooperation with some of the important private actors. We are actually launching now a pilot corporate advisory package with the support of the Commission, where we can support mission label cities with the advisory, also to get large corporates that is in the vicinity of the city to decarbonize in combination with what the city is investing into. And I think these type of initiatives can be very, very important. We see ahead of us a lot of these type of investment that also was mentioned by Sweco. I mean, I just a couple of weeks ago signed a contract with the city of Stockholm, which is they are investing in their heat and power production plant to capture carbon. It is fueled by biomass. They capture carbon, they store that, and thereby they get negative effects on the climate emissions. And these type of investments is for us very interesting to look at.
No, thanks very much, and thanks for the specific examples, because I think that really is where you know, that resonates and gives inspiration for others. I mean, the example of carbon capture, I think, is something which is you know, a challenge for many cities. But I'd like to come back to Mayor Ridouani. As I said earlier, as chair of the Mayor's Advisory Group for the mission, one of the topics I know you've been talking about is how to you know, work more effectively with the private sector. Is there a particular message from the group that you would like to perhaps share with us here on private sector in particular?
Well, I think what I've said before, I appreciate the message of the Vice President that there is really a proposal towards the local governments to step in for those projects that are on first sight not bankable. That if you go to the private bank, they will not work with you. So by collaborating together with EIB, together with our local governments, funding from the national, you can make them bankable and de-risk a bit those projects. I think this is shared among all the colleagues that have spoken here during the last day, as well in the advisory group of the mission. I think this is a strong message we want to give, that the ambition to evolve into, to have the EIB acting as a true European climate bank, we all do welcome this message. So please, let's continue in that direction. And if we can have these climate projects, let's say, not too high risk and have them affordable for local governments, I think then you will see that we will do all these projects that was talking about here. It's really, we need to make that dance work between public and private, but the public sector, from local to national to the European level, has a huge responsibility to step in first.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we've talked a lot now about the sort of funding investment challenge, working with the private sector. But of course, the other thing that we need to get right is the regulatory environment, the legal sort of framework in which cities are working. And I'd like to come back to Deputy Mayor Donna Cooney from Dublin to know a little bit whether, how you are sort of tackling that challenge in Ireland. What is your relationship with the national government, and what would be your messages about the sort of top sort of needs in terms of legislative or regulatory changes which would help to support the work that you're doing on your...
Yeah, well, there has, in the last, few years, been a lot of changes in legislation which has helped us. We now have a legal status for carbon neutrality and a national climate action plan, and aligning our own, which is actually more ambitious as the city, for carbon neutral by 2030, whereas the national plan is by 2050. But also legislation around planning that allows for, there's no planning permission required now for solar panels. Schools have been given grants to put solar panels on their schools. So working nationally with that, and lines of our transport and investment in public and active transport. Geographically, we're lucky because, we're quite flat with what we call mountains, but they're really hills on either side of Dublin, with the Wicklow Mountains and Howth. We're on the coast, so therefore, in terms of our blue infrastructure, but also we're a very windy city. There's very rarely a day and there isn't wind. So the public sector has there's a huge planning application in with On Board Pleanála now for offshore wind energy, which will really supply all our energy. But in terms of energy security, we had been importing most of our fossil fuels from abroad. We're the end of the pipeline. So bringing people with us on that, they can understand how, urgently we need to bring that along, and we need to bring that transition, because, we're out there. We're the most westerly island, there with it. So it was important for us to make that transition, and to make that transition quickly. So with the consultation with people and in that sort of transition, that was important. There's very little opposition to that transition. But that needed changes in legislation. So we need to work hand in hand with national government and with our legislators and with our planners. There was a new Planning Act. Our development plan is very much in line with that, and the planning regulations. One of our biggest challenges is probably because we need to build so much housing. So listening to how we can do that in a sort of a construction circular way as well. And we've had to use measurements within that as to, the embodied carbon. Should we demolish or should we, retrofit? How we repurpose buildings, looking at the embodied carbon, and also looking at the construction materials and how they'll be reused. And that's something we've used, even some of the materials we've reused in our parks and our new urban areas and settings. It's I suppose it's working on that, and then being able to show, because we would get our funding for the housing. We have a target for a large number of housing because our population is increasing. all the time, and we have a big need for housing, and how we do that and remain carbon neutral is a challenge. So we need the measurements, and we've used that within some developments, and we see examples of that, you know, where we're working in public-private partnership, where we have had the land, and then we went out to tender, and we're working on housing developments now, which with public-private partnership, with affordable housing, cost rental, and public housing within that, and also looking to green and put in schools and active transport. So it is a challenge. I wouldn't say it's not a challenge. And then we have to work with our department. Sometimes we very much have the ministers on side, and with the press release yesterday, it went out with the Taoiseach, which is like our Prime Minister, and the Minister, and a statement from the Mayor. So it was across the city. So we're working together really across that area, but sometimes in the departments, the wheels can be very slow, and we need to show them, you know, why we want to do them the way that we, you know, we can justify the reason we're not demolishing, the reason we want to retrofit, keep the embodied carbon. And sometimes that's to do with the social fabric, because, you know, people that have, you know, intergenerational connections to an area, and, you know, as new people come into as well, it sort of grounds people in that sort of social fabric that you have within the communities, and keeping the communities, you know, within the city core as well is very important to us.
No, thanks very much. And of course, I mean, you described the sort of complex picture of different actors. I mean, the business community is also very diverse. We're dealing sometimes with very large corporations, other times very small local businesses. You know, how do you, Elise, coming back to you, how do you sort of see that landscape, and, you know, how do we harness our projects in a way that will get all these different, very diverse business interests involved?
Yes, very interesting. Well, in my first answer, I talked about the competitive arena, and establishing carbon as a currency was a way to get the private sector on board. And on this question, to get like the diversity on board, I think Mariestad, the city of Mariestad, is a good example. We're helping them with that, because we're creating a collaborative playground where everybody can get on board. Citizens, SMEs, large corporations. They have the clear vision, they have set the target, net zero, and we have digitalized their city. That is the digital playground. And there we can visualize the scenarios. What happens to the city if we don't get on board? What are the consequences? We can experience that in virtual reality. The citizens can go into that and say, okay, what does the future look like? And what happens if we invest in these things, in like greenery and bike lanes and different circular services? Okay, this is how it feels like to live in Mariestad. It's also visualization and matchmaking for SMEs and entrepreneurial ideas to meet. Maybe Thomas Östros will visit this playground from his cell phone, or somebody here in this audience, and you might feel that, oh, here is a twin idea with our city, let's invest in it together. I think the digital playground is a very important area, also to engage our young citizens in terms of gamification. Next week we will have a workshop with game developers in order to see what kind of game psychology can we put in play here to make this more fun. Why should carbon net zero be about dieting, about giving up things? No, it's on the contrary, it's very fashionable, it is fun. What about if we can play our way to this desired future? I think, like yesterday, when we were cold, we were dancing. If we have a big challenge, let's have fun with it. That's how we create innovative and creative ideas.
Thanks very much, Elise, and indeed, I think engaging people in all the ways we possibly can. We're running out of time, but I would like to come back to Minister Poderskis with perhaps what is, the biggest question that we're all facing, and that is, when we're working with cities, dealing with competing political and other priorities, how do we square the circle of achieving both our climate goals, particularly investing real money in things like climate mitigation, climate adaptation, with the other challenges that we're facing, particularly in an increasingly difficult global competitive landscape and the economic agendas that we're also facing.
I'm for one a bit grateful for the turn of the tide in the United States, because it brings us back to the drawing board and trying to figure out, does this really work? Like, does it make sense economically? And some projects really don't. And I think we were too long telling ourselves that it works and it's self-sufficient to say that it's okay for us to do it in the sense of, just going for the net neutrality target. But it must work in all the factors, all the ways. And some projects that we do, like bottom of the barrel project of Mažeikių Nafta, is one of the things that combines all areas of the sense, because they, if not for the green transformation, they would be out of business soon. So it makes sense for them as a competitive advantage to seek efficiency and greening of their industry. Now, it must make sense for all the areas that we go into too, because what I'm telling my team is that we went in the direction of seeing a human being as a problem, but it's not. It's one that solves the problem, and we must reorient ourselves into thinking that the human being is the one who solves, and we must enable him to solve the problems, because if we look into documents prepared by the European Commission, for example, the nature recreation has 13x multiplier for investments into it to the GDP. So there must be business that could be constructed out of that. So we just need to figure out the ways. It's hard, but we must trust people to go into that direction.
Great. Well, look, thank you very much, Minister. I think that very much sort of rounds off what for me has been a very stimulating panel, and I think we could have continued the conversation for a lot longer. But for me, I mean, a few things that come out. I mean, firstly, that we've got in the Climate City contracts a rich crop of real success stories and opportunities, and it's events like this conference where we are able to compare notes, work together, and see the opportunities, in particular opportunities for building coalitions of investors and funders in new ways, using also the support of the mission and the Capital Hub, European Investment Bank Advisory in particular. I mean, we know that a huge share of the investment is going to come from the private sector, and the good news is that in many cases, many cities are already working very successfully and energetically with business communities in order to take advantage of the clear economic case that we see. And so as we now move into the deployment phase very much of the mission, we have, I think, an opportunity also to engage at a European level in the debate on the next urban agenda, where the call for ideas is open still, as well as the work we're doing on the future funding of the EU. But the strength of the mission to be a big part of that, I think, is very clear. We've run out of time. It's flashing zeros here, but we must thank the panelists for a very thought-provoking and I think rich discussion this morning, which puts us in a good place for the rest of the day's work. So please, thank you very much. And I guess I hand back to Katarina. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you so much to our speakers for that rich conversation. I specifically liked, if we have a big challenge, let's have fun with it. So I think maybe that's also something for us to do before we move on into our next session, to also make sure that we have a bit of fun. And I think I can promise that this might be my last Energizer. So are you up for another little exercise together with me? Yes? Okay. All right, you can stay seated this time, and I'm really just giving you those things as well to just do in your offices or do at home just in between, to just remember you've got a body that also needs a bit of attention. And here's how it works. We just roll our shoulders a bit, and then we stretch our arms forward. I hope you have enough space to do that. Exactly. And then you put one arm up and one arm down, and then you cross them like this. And then you go like this, and if you can either just touch the outside of your hand, or you can do a bit more and actually do this. Wonderful. And then from the side, it looks a bit like this. And now what you do is you make sure that your shoulders are keeping down, and you slowly start to move your elbows up, and this should create a nice little tension between your shoulder blades. If you can feel this, give me a little I could hear someone in the second row go like, And make sure not to go too high or to destroy any of your clothes. Just very gently, just to rub your shoulders. And then we move down again. And we untwist. And we do the same thing again. We stretch our arms forward. And now we put the other arm up and the other arm down. We cross them, and we do the same thing. And funnily enough, this usually works better with one side than the other. It's a really fun image, actually, from my side as well, to see you like, what, like, yeah? And some people are like snakes, and just kind of folding their arms like this. And once again, make sure that you keep your shoulders down, and then very gently just move your elbows up. And usually it works a bit more on one side than the other, so you can immediately tell where you've got your tensions in your shoulders. Just a tiny exercise you can do always in between. Make sure that you breathe slowly and gently. And then you can turn your shoulders and your arms back down. You untwist, maybe just shake a bit. And there you go, with one more exercise to also do whenever you need a bit of energy. And with this, I would say let's move on to our next conversation. This is a topic that we've really have present a lot throughout those days. In almost every session, we're speaking about the fact that we cannot do things alone. We need to collaborate. And in those collaborations, it's often about linking different interests, needs, and requirements, especially, as we also just heard, when it comes to finance. So in this next session, we really want to look at how we can build bridges across Europe. So please welcome on stage to guide us through this session the Director for Climate and Environment at Eurocities. Please welcome Brooke Flanagan.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having us today. I hope everyone's enjoying the conference. We're nearly at the end, a couple more sessions to go. So, as Katarina mentioned, this session is on building bridges across Europe. We're not literally building bridges. It's more of a broad definition of the term of building bridges, looking at things like finance, which we've been talking about quite a lot over the last few days, and particularly in the session this morning as well. And also around areas of shaping the market, how we use procurement, innovative procurement, we'll be covering that area. Collaboration, one of our favorite topics and one of the reasons we're all here. And also, to add something new, we will also be discussing solidarity. You may have noticed we have some Ukrainian cities with us here, and we'll be hearing from them also around what working with the cities mission will mean for them. So, we do need to build bridges, obviously. It's part of why we're all working on this together. And also to expand on the bridges that we do have. A lot of it isn't new bridges, it's collaboration isn't new, learning from each other isn't new, but we're learning new things, we're collaborating in new and different ways, and this is also obviously very crucial. You're not here to hear from me today, which is good. We do have a great panel of speakers who I'd like to invite up. Hopefully they're all here. If not, they will be shortly. We have James Falzon, who's Associate Director, Head of Infrastructure, Climate Strategy and Delivery at the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or EBRD. He's also a fellow Australian, so we've just bonded over that. We also have Halstein Björk, Deputy Mayor for Finance from the city of Oslo in Norway. Hopefully we've got Olga Kordas, who's Head of Viable Cities in Sweden. And I'm just trying to see if we have our Ukrainian cities nearby. No, okay. They're on their way, so what I'll suggest is that we start, and then I'll introduce them ahead of time. But we have the mayor of Novovolinsk in Ukraine, Boris Karpus, who is down the front here, excellent. And also the deputy mayor of Zvyhov in Ukraine, Irina Hudz, who is also there, excellent, right down in front. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll adjourn to the sofa area. Yes, working. Excellent. Thank you all very much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to our discussion. Starting off with you, James, from the finance side, which is definitely our favorite theme of the conference, I think. EBRD was founded in 1991 after the fall of communism as a bridge to support or the transition to open markets and sustainable development. Since 2022, all of your activities are aligned with the objectives of the Paris Agreement, and you have the goal of addressing the climate crisis as a market failure. Where do cities come into the picture with your work?
Thanks for the question, and thank you very much to the organizers and hosts for inviting EBRD to the event. And maybe I'll just quickly introduce EBRD for those that don't know. So the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We're a multilateral development bank. We, as was mentioned, were established in the mid-90s. We operate in Eastern Europe, North Africa, Southeastern Europe, also in Ukraine and Turkey, are very important countries for the EBRD, and also in Central Asia. And we have very much a private sector focus. Our goal as as we were set up as a transition bank, and we've been supporting countries and cities to move towards more open, inclusive, and sustainable models, and with a particular emphasis on private sector participation. And today, climate, and it has been for some time, the climate transition is a real key challenge of our time. And that's why, since 2022, all of our operations are fully aligned with the goals of the Paris Agreement. We have a financing target of 50% of our finance to be, high ambition climate projects, be it mitigation or adaptation. And so we're very much focused on climate as a key part of what we do and how we deliver. So where do cities come in? So we all know cities are very much part of the picture. A lot of the emissions are generated in or around cities. And it's also where the impacts of climate change are probably most acutely felt. Heat waves, flooding, air pollution, they're very much acutely felt in cities. But I think cities are very much part of the solution. They're hubs of innovation, leadership, and also, where things can be demonstrated and rolled out, where you can have a lot of impact. So how does our climate ambition and our transition mandate fit together? So this is really encapsulated in our EBRD Green Cities program. So the EBRD Green Cities program was established about 10 years ago, and we've been working with 50 cities across the EBRD region of operation. We've invested over 3 billion euros into over 90 projects that deliver green, climate mitigation, adaptation projects in cities across transport, waste, water, etc. And this program is really about helping cities identify the most pressing environmental challenges. We encapsulate that in a Green City Action Plan, and then the key bit is that we really work hand in hand with municipal leaders to make these things a reality. And that's really a key bit for us. It's not something that sits on the shelf. It's converting, that action plan, those investment items, into real projects on the ground.
Thank you. You've mentioned your Green Cities program. You're working with 7 of our mission cities at the moment: Bucharest, Istanbul, Izmir, Sarajevo, Sofia, Vilnius, and Warsaw. And obviously you're also participating in the steering group of the city's mission capital hub. What's your advice for the mission cities who are part of the Green Cities program or interested in becoming part of the Green Cities program? How do they best engage with EBRD? What support can you provide in helping them to really start to implement their climate city contracts and investment plans?
Yeah, so climate city contracts and green city action plans, they're really, natural kind of allies. Both aim to bridge this, speaking of bridges, ambition into action. And, going from that high level concept, how do we go climate neutral, net zero, into something tangible and, an individual investment program or action. So we're really proud to be working with 7 mission cities. Cities like Vilnius, Izmir, Warsaw, and these are showing how to turn this vision into impact. Maybe just quickly focusing on Vilnius, we're here because we're here. It's really a good example where, a city has taken these kind of 2 processes and integrated them into a single process and delivered, a joint outcome. So in 2023, we did an investment in the trolley buses here in Vilnius. And that kind of kick-started the ambition to become a green city, and at the same time to embark on the journey of climate city contracts. And the processes went in tandem. They really fed off each other. And the Green City Action Plan was adopted about a month ago. There'll be a launch event at the end of this month. And I understand yesterday Vilnius got the mission label, so congratulations to the city of Vilnius. And this is really a good example of how these 2 initiatives can be really, complementary and build upon each other. And we have, follow-on investments that are coming further in trolley buses and in buildings. So what would be our advice? I mean, firstly, this notion of collaboration is really key. Quite a lot of the positive feedback that we get from the process that we facilitate through Green Cities is this notion of bringing together actors that aren't necessarily coming together normally. And we've got many examples where people say, we really appreciate that the process has brought together stakeholders that don't normally talk to each other around a common framework to deliver real action. So the first bit of advice is lean into the collaboration, and it will help deliver. It's not a time waster, it helps. And the second one is, delivery is key. Delivery, creates momentum. You see impact, and it helps self-reinforce the process that you're trying to establish. But it isn't easy. I mean, I think in the previous panel, the mayor of Leuven was saying it was heavy. I think that's probably a very good description of what it is to actually turn these things into reality. It's heavy. But there is support, from EBRD, from the program that's brought us all together, and there's experts out there that can help think through, who's going to implement the action, how will it be financed, who are the technology providers, what are the laws, regulations that maybe need to be adjusted. It's all very heavy, but there is support to help through it. There's experience that you can get from other cities, and again, delivery is really key in order to have something that is self-reinforcing and stands the test of time.
Thanks, James. And I think that's a nice segue to our next speaker. I was saying delivery is building momentum, and the city of Oslo has an exceptional track record in delivery. It's a very popular location for study visits for other cities to learn from the great experience there. Also, congratulations for receiving the mission label yesterday.
Thank you.
There was a lot of energy in the room when everyone was receiving the label, which was absolutely wonderful to see, a reward for all of the hard work, although now the really hard work starts in terms of implementation. But one of the areas that Oslo is obviously, green infrastructure has been a big part of the work that you've done and the delivery so far. And as we know, green infrastructure requires a lot of investment. And so I guess what's really worked for your city well in bridging that infrastructure ambition and investment, and what challenges and difficulties, I guess, have you faced along the way?
Okay, thanks, Brooke, and thanks for the opportunity to share some experiences from Oslo here today. More than half of Oslo's emissions come from transportation. And to remove these emissions, we need to make walking, cycling, and public transportation the most attractive way to move about for everyone all the time. And this transformation requires a lot of investments, of course. For example, in buses and in subways. And Oslo has a toll ring system that dates back to the 1990s and has been an essential source of finance. Originally, the toll ring generated income for road construction, but today 98% of the revenue goes to public transit infrastructure investments. This finance model comes in very handy because huge investments are needed. For example, in 2029, we are opening a brand new metro line. And this is the main source of finance. Another large source of emission in Oslo is construction machinery. And to address these emissions, we have used the city procurement of public infrastructure and buildings, such as schools, kindergartens, and the new metro line, to promote zero-emission machinery. With tender requirements for zero-emission machinery, we create predictability in the market, and this helps reduce the risk of investment. It also gives contractors an opportunity to test new machinery in real working environments. Since 2019, more than 220 projects have used heavy-duty electric machinery, and it works just fine.
It's always good to have a proof of concept there. And I guess that's also an area where Oslo has been very active in trying to shape the market through innovative procurement as well. You've also been very active in the European Commission's multiple big buyers programs as well in helping to really take innovative procurement to the next level. Could you perhaps elaborate a bit on how you can do more of this, what cities can do to help improve or innovate in procurement and help to shape the market?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'm proud to represent both the City of Oslo and also the GRIP project. The GRIP project brings together European cities to accelerate climate action through strategic public procurement. And in Oslo, we know that green procurement works. It has become one of our most effective climate tools, not only to reduce emissions, but also to drive market transformation. And behind this success, a key factor is the very clear mandate provided by the city government and the city council through the climate budgeting governance framework that we have created. And as Vice Mayor of Finance, I have the key responsibility to assure progress and compliance across city agencies as climate goals are fully integrated in the budgeting process, counting emissions like we count money. And a few examples. Oslo was the first city globally to require fossil-free construction sites. And since 2020, we've moved towards fully zero-emission construction projects. Electric excavators are now the norm for all public construction works, and 85% of all city constructions in Oslo is now zero-emission. And our zero-emission transport requirements have triggered a significant increase in electric cars, vans and trucks available in the market. And of all new sales of cars in Oslo, 89% are electric. And for vans and trucks, zero-emissions vehicles are about 34% now, thanks to the procurement policies.
That's amazing. I think you'll have a few more study visit requests coming your way shortly. Those numbers are very, very impressive. We're just, I would say, changing gears slightly here and focusing on the other key part of building bridges that we've mentioned, and that's really to focus on bridges of solidarity. I'm just going to ask if we can change the slide, please, to the map. Towards this end of last year, the Sun for Ukraine initiative launched an expression of interest for Ukrainian cities to join the project to develop climate neutrality plans to help them with the aim of becoming climate neutral by 2050. In December, we selected 12 flagship municipalities from Ukraine to be associated with the city's mission. These are the 12 cities up here on the map. We had 105 applications, so the amount of enthusiasm and interest from Ukrainian municipalities in becoming climate neutral is just amazing, especially given the situation in Ukraine. So we were just very, very happy about that. We did select the 12 where focusing to align with the city's mission on cities with over 50,000 inhabitants. And those cities will be receiving support for developing those climate neutrality plans, as I mentioned. But I just wanted to, once again, reintroduce our two representatives from Ukraine here. We've got Boris Karpus, the mayor from Novovolinsk, and Irina Hudz, the deputy mayor from Zvaya. Sorry, I will get it right soon. And really just ask, what motivated your city to answer the Sun for Ukraine call? And what type of collaboration are you looking for with mission cities? Boris, would you like to start?
Thank you very much. Dear friends and partners, Sun for Ukraine is not just about the climate change adaptation. It's about the people and their efforts of create a climate-friendly future. On behalf of the Novovolinsk municipality, we express our gratitude for our support. The Sun for Ukraine project has been a significant step in the development of our municipality, helping us integrate into the Europe family and exchange experience with colleagues who share the principles of climate neutrality in the Green Deal. Since March 2021, we have joined the covenant of mayors to reduce CO2 emission by at least 30% by 2030, improve energy efficiency and use renewable energy source. In order to implement adaptation measure and to meet the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement and the EU direction of the transition to climate neutrality. Our municipality is actively leading climate initiative and developing policies for adaptation action. We implemented the European Energy Awards, have approved and are successful carrying out of the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan until 2030, and have developed a community recovery and development plan based on energy efficiency and green transition initiative. In addition, together with NEFCO, we are working on the Green Recovery Plan and in cooperation with GIZ. We are preparing a comprehensive climate risk assessment. We believe in the importance of climate initiation, which translate into a project that reduce CO2 emission and improve social and economical development. The municipality has experience in bioenergy, renewable energy solar power station, thermomodernization public buildings, and introducing digital tools to enhance residents' quality of life. We are also building housing based on ecological standards, particularly for internally displaced person in partnership with NEFCO. But we aim for more. We hope that Sun for Ukraine project will also ask to learn from Europe experience and straighten out our partnership with the European community. We believe it will help us spread the philosophy of climate neutrality in our region and align our legal and regulatory framework with European standards. But participating in the project, we aim to show that Ukraine is committed to change the implementing climate adaptation solution. We look forward to our continued support and invite future cooperation. The Vilnius municipality is post-coal area that began its just transition after the closure of coal mines. We aim to transform our municipality into logistic and industrial hub that attractive business and integrates modern technologies to connect the Volyn region with the European community. We focus on climate neutrality and Green Deal principles during the transformation. The municipality entreated more than 400 residential buildings, 150 public institutions and 40 industrial enterprises from the Soviet area, many of which lack energy efficient of climate adaptive solution. We are addressing this challenge by promoting climate and energy transition among citizens, business and partners. We implement digital energy efficiency and eco-friendly solution in both new construction and renovation. Our 2030 goals include reconstruction of water treatment, supply and drainage system, future installation of solar power station of municipal buildings, constructions of social housing for internally displaced persons, modernization street lights, opening allocation education institution focused on Green Deal and climate neutrality principles, eco-park, industrial eco-park, creating an energy efficiency center of consultation, energy adults and energy audits and demonstration of solutions. We believe the Sun for Ukraine projects will help us rethink our approach to climate initiative and share our positive experience with other municipalities in Ukraine. We invite partners to collaboration on improving quality of life and creating sustainable future. To achieve climate neutrality, we need support in co-financing climate and energy projects, reliable colleges with experts to help implement innovation solution, European practices and invitation to spread in our municipality, a stronger partnership with Europe municipalities for joint grants applications. As I say, Sun for Ukraine is not just about the climate change adaptation, it's about people and their efforts to create the climate-friendly futures. We are excited to be part of these efforts and invite you to join us in improving our shared future. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Boris. That was great. Irina, how about you? What motivated you to apply to become a flagship municipality in Sun for Ukraine, and what are you looking for in collaboration with other mission cities, European mission cities?
Dear colleagues, partners and participants of the initiative, today I am honored to speak for the Zvagel municipality. We are active participants in climate initiatives in Ukraine and around the world. Let me answer your question. Thanks to the European Unit's Horizon Europe program and the group working on the Sun for Ukraine project, we have the chance to work with 11 other Ukrainian municipalities to achieve our ambition climate neutrality goals. In Ukraine, the project has a lot of support from partners for information and organization. We work closely with the NGO EcoAction. The Association of Ukrainian Cities is in charge of coordinating municipal development. The Zvegel municipality has been working hard on energy efficiency and developing renewable energy sources for years. We have been a member of the Association of Energy Efficient Cities of Ukraine since 2008 and of the Covenant of Mayors since 2021. The local government has a plan for the area for the year 2030. This plan is called the Community Development Strategy. It says that energy efficiency, climate neutrality, international cooperation and community involvement in decided making are among the most important things it will work on. Today we have real results. We have been working with the charity Eco Club to install solar power plants that can produce almost 400 kilowatt of electricity. We are also installing heat pumps, individual heating units and energy efficient solution for heat supply. These are not just technological changes. They are also a strategic step towards making the municipality energy independent and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We decided to take part in the call and join the Sun for Ukraine project because we wanted to get exact support, training resources and access to the best ways European cities have already dealt with climate change. It is important for us to be part of a community that shares the values of sustainable development and understands the challenges facing Ukrainian municipalities in times of war. We are now working on a plan to help the municipality use energy more efficiently by the year 2030. We are working on a plan to modernize the infrastructure. This will include creating an energy efficient center for the public and businesses. We have also introduced an energy management system. The system has the responsibility persons in each budgetary institution. We face challenges such as a lack of funding, storage of qualified professionals, legal barriers to setting up energy cooperatives, and low motivation among residents of multi-family buildings. That's why we are looking for partners to help us. We want to exchange experience, receive technical assistance, training programs for professionals, help with project development and tact investment. We will use short-term partnership to implement specific project and long-term partnership to build a climate-neutral municipality. We want to work with municipalities that already have experience in implementing energy efficiently solutions, creating renewable energy infrastructure, and getting the public involved in climate action. We also need expert help to deal with climate change and create good local plans. To sum us, for us, Sun for Ukraine is more than just an important opportunity. It is a real instrument of change. We believe that we can only reach a climate-neutral future if we all work together. We are open for dialogue, and we look forward to start new partnership. Thank you.
Thanks, Irina. It's great to hear about the work that's already been done in terms of climate decarbonization projects within both of your cities and having sea caps. And I think it's a logical progression in many ways to move to a climate neutrality plan. And a lot of the European cities in the mission have kind of been going through similar journeys. So on that note, subtle slide reference. There we go. Almost seamless. I'd like to announce that we're opening the call for European mission cities to express their interest to join the partnership program of Sun for Ukraine and to work with our flagship municipalities on a 2-year program focused on knowledge sharing, exchange, and learning. It closes on the 20th of June. And I would like to reassure you that the expression of interest is a lot shorter than the one that you had to fill out to join the mission in the first place. So a lot quicker, a lot easier, just to assure you. We've got a QR code up there. I'll give you a little bit more information later in the session about how you can find out more as well. But I'd also now like to move to Olga Koras from Viable Cities. Your organization has been working a lot with Ukrainian cities on climate and sustainability. What is the experience, both from your perspective and from the Ukrainian cities? And could you do a pitch to encourage our European mission cities to express their interest to partner with our Ukrainian flagship municipalities?
Yes, thank you, Brooke. So, Viable Cities, we are a national platform in Sweden supporting Swedish cities in their journey towards climate neutrality, working with 48 cities representing 50% of Sweden's population. And then the whole Viable Cities, we started at our university, we initiated at Royal Institute of Technology, and the universities are providing this kind of places for trust, for creativity, for co-creation of different actors, municipalities, civil society organizations, companies, to create those kind of pathways and solutions towards climate neutrality. So together, Viable Cities, together with our sister organization in Spain, so we are huge friends, Cities 2030, and together with 4 universities in Ukraine, from Kyiv, from Kharkiv, from Chernihiv, also with Association of Ukrainian Cities, so you are here, guys, and from civil society organization and business organizations, we created an initiative co-funded by European Commission also, which is called UniCities. It's University for Universities and Cities collaboration. So I just shortly saying that the outcomes of this work is, and this is collaboration in order to support strengthen Ukrainian university to provide better support to cities in the green rebuilding and renewal. And I think that the outcomes of this collaboration is kind of exceeding our expectations during the ongoing war. I want to say that some great examples from Ukraine inspire Swedish cities, because we are saying that if Swedish cities during the ongoing war is focusing on climate transition, then there is no excuse whatsoever for Swedish municipalities not to work on climate transition because of some economical constraints or so. It's also interesting to notice that now during this conference, we were discussing about kind of how we should talk more and work more for multiple benefits. So creating the narrative of multiple benefits, that how we are working with climate transition is also very important for safety, security, for health, for creating of jobs, and so on and so forth. In Ukraine, you could imagine that you would not work on climate transition if this is not bringing added value and better quality of life, or maintaining quality of life of citizens of Ukrainian cities. So there is a lot of proofs of concepts in Ukraine that what we are doing in climate transition, it's not only for this future generation or for kind of climate neutral pathways, but it's for the quality of life of our citizens today. As for, I'm Ukrainian, so kind of course I'm biased, but I would like to call of all of you to collaborate with Ukrainian cities, and it's not because it's a moral obligation, but think again about multiple benefits. Could you imagine any better cities and Ukrainian cities who could also share with you experiences of resilience? What do you do when you have blackouts, as we had last week in Spain and Portugal? So how you create a distributed energy system that would hold independently of what situation is? So also how you can work with your society and civil society to strengthen your transition, and not least about technological innovation, because I could promise you there are a lot of IT, digital solutions that are, and cybersecurity solutions, kind of technology for self-driving vehicles, and not only drones, but others. So I think collaboration with Ukrainian cities, it's a win-win. It's for the multiple benefits, both for Ukrainian cities, of course, and for European cities. I would like to say that I'm very confident, and I know that there is a huge and strong will of Ukrainian cities and communities to collaborate with European cities. And my grandfather used to tell me, Olю, де є воля, там є шлях. In English it would be, where there is a will, it will be a way. So thank you to all of you for supporting Ukraine. And слава Україні!
Thank you, Olga. I feel like we should finish there on such a high note. I'm now expecting to see all mission cities express their interest in partnering with our Ukrainian flagship municipalities now after Olga's rousing speech there. And as Olga pointed out, you know, it is a partnership program. It's not a mentoring program. It's beneficial for all parties involved, that we can learn different things along the way. And I think that's a really crucial point. So thank you for that. We're just heading towards the wrap-up part of the session now. So I'm going to go back to Ulstein from Oslo here. Obviously, you, along with the other 111 mission cities, have been part of the mission for about coming up to 3 years now. You've learnt together, you've experimented together, you've supported each other. There may have been some tears of frustration shared at various times as well along the journey. But now having the Ukrainian flagship municipalities becoming associated with the city's mission, it is an opportunity to maybe look at the mission with a slightly more external perspective, I guess, a slightly more objective one now. So really, what would you say, you know, after 3 years spent in the city's mission, what would you say from your city perspective?
Thank you, Brooks. And first of all, I would say that Oslo feel a strong commitment for supporting Ukraine cities. And we look forward to working with Ukraine cities as part of the Mission City Network. Oslo is a proud member of the Net Zero Cities, as mentioned previously, and joint efforts are needed by all European cities to boost the European green transition. And through the Net Zero Cities and the Pure project, Oslo has been able to learn best practice from other front-runner cities. We've dipped into questions of improving our energy system to better enable the electric zero-emission future. At the same time, we aim to transition to zero emission for the whole city with the grid capacity that we already have. Our focus has been how can we use energy in a smart and more effective manner. And we've learned from the front runners, but we also hope that this lesson can help other cities with their climate and energy transition.
Great, thank you. And I think that's an important reminder of the second objective of the city's mission, which is that the innovation and experience that's happening in all of our mission cities helps to inspire and inform all of the other cities in Europe to become climate neutral by 2050 at the latest. And I think that's, you know, the ongoing collaboration and learning that we're seeing, not just between the mission cities, but as part of the twinning programs and other learning programs, is really crucial to ensuring that it becomes a movement across Europe and also Ukraine as well. James, just a final short message from you, really, around, I guess, how the EBRD role, I guess, with the mission cities and Ukrainian cities here as well.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, my final message would be, you know, in keeping with fellow panelists, a message of solidarity and partnership. You know, the journey to climate neutrality is complex, even more so in context of economic headwinds, recovery and reconstruction. But it's also the moment to rebuild better, greener and more resilient cities. So EBRD is already working with several Ukrainian cities through our Green Cities Network. We're an active investor in Ukraine. You know, last year I think we did over $1 billion in infrastructure projects in Ukraine. It's a really important country for the EBRD. And with the launch of this Sun for Ukraine, you know, it's a powerful platform to bring this mission, the city's mission, and the Green Cities Network even closer together, reach more people, and ultimately have more impact. So, you know, we're ready to do more, and, you know, we're here to support you and the cities in Ukraine on this journey.
Great, thank you. And we will be talking to you about Sun for Ukraine very shortly as well. So we're very clear to make that bridge, just to keep stretching that bridge analogy as far as we can. Thank you very much. I think it's been a very interesting panel session with some different perspectives. It's been amazing to have a front-runner city like Oslo and the amazing work that you're doing there. As well as obviously the contribution that EBRD is making in helping to finance the delivery and implementation of a lot of the climate ambitions in parts of Europe. But also obviously having our Ukrainian partners here, Ukrainian cities who are going to be involved in Sun for Ukraine, and really seeing us expand the mission out and be able to make these positive contributions and receive those positive contributions, I think is really crucial. Now, I did promise you a little bit more information about how to find out more about the expression of interest and how you can get involved. We have a breakout session starting at 11:30, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which is called Bridging Borders, that word again, Bridging Borders for Climate Neutrality, partnering Ukrainian cities with the EU mission cities. This is in room 5, breakout room 5, so please take note of that. We'll be hearing from some other Ukrainian flagship municipalities as part of that, and it's also an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have about to the Ukrainian flagship municipalities directly. Also, some of our Sun for Ukraine partners will be there, including some of our Ukrainian partners. And we also have, we'll hear from the mission team themselves. So a lot of more information there. Also, we have the Ukraine cluster, project cluster, so Sun for Ukraine and UCAN are both present out in the exhibition space. They have quite a big stand there, and there's also a lot of Ukrainian cities and partners there too to have a conversation with. So I'd really recommend that you check that one out as well. All that's really left for me to do now, other than is to thank our speakers once again. So thank you very much, James, Holstein, Olga, Boris, and Irina. Thanks so much, and enjoy your coffee break.
And thank you so much from our side as well, Brooke, for hosting this important session. I think let's use the Association of the Bridge one last time, because my job now is to bridge your next step, and that is to go into the break. We have a break until 11:30, and then we go on, as Brooke mentioned, with the breakout sessions, and you find all the information about the breakout sessions, as always, in your apps. Have a wonderful coffee break, a good breakout session, and we see you for the last session in the afternoon, 2:15. Goodbye. Hello, one last time, and welcome to the closing session of the Cities Mission Conference 2025. Hello, I'm really happy to have all of you with us still, specifically the ones who are still standing in the corridor, and I know that now the most interesting conversations are happening, so I really hate to interrupt those, but it'd be so lovely if you actually came forward and joined us here. There's still a few seats that are reserved for you. And then we have this entire co-working space going on over there with lots of people working very intensely at their laptops. If you want to step out of the shade and step into the sun, here there is still space for you, and we're welcoming you. So, most important question first. Has anyone seen the pigeon? Yes. Has it made its way out? Yeah, yesterday. I'm a bit worried, to be honest, that it might still be stuck somewhere. So in case we do see it, I think we have to really help it out of here. Okay, as you are also going to leave and go out of here at some point, who of you is leaving today? Okay, quite a lot. When you do leave, you can leave your lanyards and just put them in a box at the exit, just to make sure that we can actually recycle them. And then maybe a last energy check. By now you know the game. Where do you find yourselves from here to here at this point in time? Is the energy still high enough to actually lift an arm? It's like, it's moving up and down. Oh yeah, wonderful, I love this one. This is a new one. Good. Well, since we started it off with actually welcoming our body, our hearts, and our minds, I thought maybe we also start our closing session with this. And you know the game already from the very beginning. If this applies to you, then you can just go along with a little shoulder rub or with a little stretch. Who of you would say that there is something in your bodies that feels a bit tired? Maybe a little shoulder rub. Yeah, you don't have to, you can just, yeah. Maybe some of you say, tired really doesn't capture it at this point. I'm completely exhausted. Then maybe give it a good stretch. Yeah, the ones in the last row, I understand the correlation there. Right, who of you would say that something's a bit tense, it's a bit stiff, you know, we've been sitting a lot, but maybe not moving that much, then maybe give it a bit of a roll here as well. And who of you would say that you're actually quite ready to rest? Your body feels this good sense of going home and having a good night's sleep tonight. Yeah. And if we go to our hearts, and maybe you can once again put your hand to your heart if you feel this, who of you would say you have a sense of connection? You somehow feel connected to yourself, to a cause, to other people. And who of you would say you feel proud after these days and the things that you've spoken about? And who of you would say that you feel grateful that you had this experience in those days? Yeah. And we close it with the head as well, and you can put your hand to your head if any of those thoughts apply. So let's see. Who of you would say, I have so many thoughts in my head is completely full? Yeah, it's like, oof, you can just do this. And who would say that you really like Vilnius? Yeah. And who would say that you really hope you're not going to catch a cold from the cold breeze? Yeah. You know, take your vitamins, get some sleep. Who of you would say, I'm really happy that we're done with all the interaction now? And who of you would say that you're actually quite happy that you were here with your full body and your heads and your hearts? That's nice. So as we're entering the closing, I would also like to take a moment in time, because usually, you know, you rush out of these conferences and you immediately go into the next thing. You probably head back to the office or work or something else, and you just let go and forget whatever you learned here quite quickly. So I quite like to take a conscious moment to just look back at all the things that have happened and all the things that have been said in the past 3 days. And for this, I would invite you for just a moment to put away your phones, put away your laptops, or anything else. And if you want to, you feel comfortable with it, just close your eyes and just listen to the sentences and the quotes of what has been said in the past days. We are doing nothing less but building the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. It's a lot of hard work, innovation, and sometimes tears to make it happen. There you have the elephant in the room, finance. We will get it done, but it's no walk in the park. Real change starts small. Our direction of travel is very clear. You are part of a big wheel moving in the right direction. We have the capacity as humans to fix this crisis. Now we can start the healing process. We started with thumbs wrestling 3 years ago, and it was inspiring for us not to compete, but to collaborate. Don't ask what companies can do for you, ask what you can do for companies. Our superpower, we were curious and brutally honest. We did both. We went fast and far together. In the Baltics, we are connected in spirit. This is a world record, the number of mission labels being awarded at the same time. If we want to plant trees, that's great, but it won't work if we don't have gardeners. Philanthropy is not only about funding, it's about solidarity. I'm proud to be European when I think about what we're doing here. Leadership should not be responsible for the results. It should be responsible for the power, for the people who are responsible for the results. If we have a big challenge, let's have fun with it. We think the human being is the problem, but we need to look at it as the one to solve the problem. Where there is a will, there is a way. And with this, I invite you to open up your eyes again, and you will decide for yourself which of those sentences, or maybe something completely else, carries the most meaning and what you will take with you on our journey forward to develop a beautiful Europe together. And to make it even more concrete and give you one more chance to also think about what was the key takeaway from your side, I want to have a look at a key visual that our wonderful visual harvester, Carlotta, has put together for us. And just look at all the things that have been said. In just a minute, you just get a bit of music to look at it, and maybe you think for yourself, what is this one thing that you'd really like to tell your colleagues, your family, when you come back here? What is the takeaway that you take with yourself when we hopefully see the image in a second. Let's see, there it is.
Now we're back here at home. You're tucked snug into bed. The tree frog asleep in the treetop air. The hedgehog asleep in the hedge. All dream of the green of forests. That's the green of and the blue of oceans. That's the blue of dreaming. The blue of dreaming. Dreaming. The blue. That's the blue of stretches out.
Thank you so much. Maybe we can give it up once for a wonderful visual harvester for Carlotta. In the past 3 days, there has been a lot of creativity in this entire venue here and in the breakout sessions. A lot of cities have been sharing ideas and initiatives, and the city's mission and the Net Zero Cities platform obviously contributing to this creativity and also want to make sure that they help spread those ideas. And this is why we want to share one idea with all of you right now. And for this, it is my pleasure to welcome on stage the Senior Advisor of the City of Oslo to present the GRIP Declaration for you. Please welcome on stage Sophie Halling.
Hi, everybody. You might think that I'm on my own up here, but actually, I'm here with my two friends. They are invisible. It's the city of Košice and the city of Aachen. And we are here to present a declaration on green procurement. We have all signed it, and we invite you guys to sign it. And if you open this Canopy app, if you actually have installed it, I shared a message on it, and you can find a link to the declaration. And I'd love for you to see it after this. And I'm pretty sure that you know already that in Oslo, we know that green procurement works. I'm certain you got that message, but we also would like for all of you to take part in that journey. And that's why we'd love for you to sign the declaration to give a strong signal to the market. We are preaching the procurement gospel, actually. And we know that no city can do this alone. We will be stronger, we will have more impact if we walk together. And therefore, I'm very proud to present a joint declaration. It's on this website. It's developed through the GRIP project. And it calls for stronger political commitment to green and innovative procurement. It calls for capacity building at all levels of government. And it calls for clear EU frameworks and funding and help to support cities' implementation. We believe that cities are ready to lead, but we need stronger enabling conditions. And with the right tools and support, we believe that green procurement can become the new normal and not the exception for all of us. So therefore, we invite you to join us, sign the declaration, join the GRIP partnership, and let's build the future markets that Europe needs and accelerate Europe's green transition together. And also reach out to me, and I would be very happy to discuss more after this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Sophie and also your invisible friends. And I'm very happy that we can now also come to the closing session of this conference with someone who's been here from the beginning and someone who's hosted us in this beautiful place in Vilnius and has enabled for all of us to really get to know this place a bit better. So I'm very happy to welcome once more on this stage for the closing remarks the Mayor of Vilnius. Please welcome once more Valdas Pinskunskas.
So, dear friends and partners from the city's mission, on the first day, many of you were surprised how big is this venue. But as you see now, all the corner is needed to fit old and new ideas, fresh agreements, and partnerships. Some of you will remember Vilnius as a place where you get your own city label. And we will remember you as a part of our journey, as a partner in building the greener city in the making. We had city leaders and EU representatives discuss how scale up public and private investments to meet our ambitions. Highlights included talks on better funding for climate adaptation and resilience and how to close the gap between ambitions and results. The next chapter for all of us is about delivery and results. Now it's time to turn our plans into action and ambitions into measurable results. So once again, thank you for coming to Vilnius. It was a pleasure to host you, and I hope that you enjoy your rest time here.
Thank you so much for hosting us, and I would like to give the stage to one more mayor who's also giving us the pleasure of joining us. Please welcome on stage the mayor of Gabrovo. Please welcome Tanya Hristova.
Dear friends, it's really a big pleasure and honor to be today with you and to have the responsibility to make a kind of a wrap-up of these 3 exciting days here in Vilnius, in this beautiful city that is really showcasing the way for green transitions. And it is always happening like that. At the end, we feel a little bit sad because things are coming to an end, but I'm sure that all of us keep in our hearts and in our minds the richness of the motivation, the interesting stories and knowledge that we will take home, and I'm sure that we will continue to share and use it as our next step motivation. And I would like immediately to say thank you for all of you who organized this very important and very motivating conference, because this provided us with the opportunity to be together. And I think that in these 3 days, we very often reach the conclusion that it is not top-down, and it is not also only bottom-up. That is the new governance that we should search and that we should nourish with proper collaboration. It is the together governance. We must be together. We must not be in the position, the cities, to be just implementers and the national and European to be the designers of the policies. No, we have to be together, and one of the most important messages that we recognize here is that the cities could be the leaders, and the mission proves that it could be a very good example of multi-level governance, and this should be kept and this should be ensured that it is part of the urban strategy that is very important to be drafted together with us. And as it was messaged throughout the morning sessions, we the cities, we the leaders should be very active in messaging and conveying the fact that in the design of the urban strategy, we should insist that the mission is engaged and that the multi-level governance is ensured, but not just as a component that is a result of a consultation, but in the role of a permanent and sustainable component, because otherwise we will have only strategies and scrapped different policies instead of having strategic framework and in this way ensured trust from citizens and also businesses. And this is something very important to prove that multi-level governance is part of the governance that will ensure our journey towards green transition and achieving neutrality. And what is also very important is that within the mission we are not only achieving results, and we are not here only to see that we are trying to do our best. We are together and we are changing the realities in our cities, and therefore we need our national governments to be very close with us. Across different cities and countries in Europe, probably there are different models of collaboration, communication, and cooperation among different levels. But in order to have the mission a success story, we probably, together with the European institutions, should make sure that the national level endorses our city climate contracts. And this will be a very important, successful step of today's efforts that we direct in order to proceed with our strategies. And something else, it is aligned with what I have mentioned so far. Maybe our city contracts, which are an excellent tools to work for achieving our goals, together with our sustainable energy and climate plans, could be further integrated into our national strategies, which are the basis for our common European transformation. And these are probably some of the moments that we could also use as mission members to influence the European policies and make them more efficient and more motivating our citizens, our businesses, and in this way transforming for a better quality. And last but not least, we should not forget about inclusivity, because otherwise we could have only fast transition instead of fair transition. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here in Vilnius, to share our challenges, to share our expectations, and to be energized with our belief that when we are together, we can achieve everything that is good for our sustainability. And in this regard, we should also need smart financing. I hope that if we are together, all levels, then we are really for our stronger and prosperous future development. And challenges could be not easily, but successfully overcome. Once again, it was a pleasure to be part of this conference, and let's continue our mission to climate neutrality together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Hristova, for joining us and for your closing remarks. And as we all know, after the conference is usually before the next conference, so I would like to now really close it with one last round of reflections from 5 very different perspectives, and maybe also an outlook of what else is to come, what type of opportunities are out there for all of us. And for this, it is my pleasure to welcome on stage 5 speakers. Please welcome the head of the Commission Task Force on Affordable Housing, Deputy Director General on the DG Energy from the European Commission, Matthew Baldwin. Please welcome the Mayor of Liepāja and the Vice Chair of Commission for the Environment, Climate Change and Energy in the Committee of the Regions, Gunnar Ancinch. Please welcome the Member of the European Parliament, Marcos Ros Sempere. Please welcome the co-founder and vice president of the Think and Do Tank Important Issues Foundation and the leading youth representative, Julia Kelsch, and the current mission manager, Patrick Child. And now you give them an applause for all of them. Thank you. Maybe I can take the seat here at the very end, and I ask you all to come. Yeah, thank you so much. And then I have a good overview of all of you. Do you all have a microphone? Wonderful. Good. Hello, thank you so much for that. Here I have one for you. Make sure you can join the conversation as well. I have the great pleasure of actually having the former mission manager and the current mission manager here encircling us more or less. So maybe Matthew, I know that you like to shake up things a bit, so maybe we started off with just a kind of general judgment on your successors' work with this conference. Are you happy?
Well, can someone explain to me why only stale, pale, balding British males are allowed to be mission manager for the city mission?
Well, you should put out the job description
I think we should broaden the job description next time. I think Patrick's doing pretty well, actually. When I left, we had 112 wannabes, very excited about the prospect, lined up, coming to terms with what is this thing called the Climate City contract. And now, things have moved on a bit. I said in an earlier session, it's like a family reunion, and it's always a bit difficult to come back into the family. You see how they've all grown. There's always a bit of tensions. You sort of resent how much progress they've made without you. That's, I think, how I feel. But no, seriously, the news that not just so many climate contracts have been fulfilled, but the mission labels, 92, are now up and running. But as I think I also said earlier, no pressure. Now you have to actually deliver, and you have to make sure that the capital city, the climate city capital hub, that the EIB work in harmony to deliver on the elephant in the room, funding and finance. The mayor of Gabrovo, if I pronounce that right, just rightly said we need national endorsements for these contracts. We need these national networks to really take off and deliver. So it really is genuinely impressive. Huge kudos to you, Patrick, and everyone on the team. If I could say briefly a word or two about the synergies with
I was
housing,
just going to ask you exactly, because I mean, you've also answered to new job descriptions, and now you're head of the Affordable Housing Task Force. Yeah. So maybe you can tell us a bit about this, and also where are the kind of contributions between the city's mission and the Affordable Housing Initiative to make sure that we can actually make the most out of those 2 initiatives.
Well, yeah, always attracted to a challenge. I've taken on this new Affordable Housing Task Force. I'll spare you the long version of how it came about, but President Ursula von der Leyen noted in her July big speech, and coming back in as Commission President, that this is become an issue for Europeans, and therefore it has to become an issue for Europe. We do need to keep our feet on the ground because the competence, in our horrible European jargon, the responsibility still lies with member states, with cities and with regions. But we now have a commissioner for housing who doubles up with energy, so a nice easy job there. And we have a housing task force, which it is my honor to lead. We will be spending this year consulting, listening, learning, not all things that the Commission is renowned for doing, saying we don't know how far we can take this. We don't know how much added value we can make as the European Union, but we are keen to do that. And in partnership with the European Parliament, which created its own special committee, we will work towards the first ever European affordable housing plan in the first quarter of 2026. And guess what? Cities are once again in the front line of that. And coming finally to your question, what's the synergy right there? The sharpest point of the affordable housing crisis in the European Union is, of course, in cities. I don't want to oversimplify or exaggerate, but it's essentially about young, vulnerable people who can't afford to live in the cities they're serving, the teachers, the social workers, the police. And we need to move from the established pattern of support for the most vulnerable, so-called social housing, also to include the next segment over, the struggling working people of Europe who desperately need to find places to live. It is essentially an urban phenomenon. The overburden rate by which it's too difficult to survive is, in terms of your housing cost as a percentage of your disposable income, it's 50% higher in urban areas than in the rural areas. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the countryside, but it's primarily there. And of course, as I've said before on the city mission, cities are most in the front line, but you're also best placed to serve that, best placed to deliver on this. You have the energy, you have the power, you have these fantastic mayors who can deliver. And so it is that with that optimism that we address this issue over the coming months. And next week we will receive the mayors of 15 cities, big cities across Europe, who are preparing an emergency action plan for us on affordable housing. We look forward to receiving that and that being part of our work. Now, is there a dichotomy between this and what the city mission that Patrick and team are leading? I really don't think so. I mean, there will be people out there trying to make, there's a false dichotomy here, that these efforts to make our houses energy efficient somehow cuts across the affordability. We need to remember that 47 million Europeans can't afford to heat the homes they live in. It's called energy poverty, and that is affecting the affordability of housing. So we have to address that, and that's why your efforts and the efforts of my colleagues in DG ENO on energy efficiency through the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive are so important. It's about climate, but it is also about affordability. If there is an issue, and this is back to the elephant in the room, funding and finance, it's how we manage the short-term and long-term aspects of delivering funding and financing. I can now announce, too old to get a renovation grant on a property that I live in. They'll say, you'll die before you repay it. So how do we find a way to make sure that that doesn't intervene with the necessary decisions to upgrade and renovate our housing stock? There are ways. We need to get creative in the true spirit of a city mission and to look at that. And so for me, and until, Patrick, you contradict me, which is our tradition, I see the scope for positive synergies between the work of the Housing Task Force and the City Mission, and I look forward to being invited back regularly to these conferences so we can explore how we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll take a moment before I let Patrick contradict you, but you just also mentioned the fantastic mayors, and one of them is sitting next to you. Gunnar, maybe you can tell us a bit about, since we're talking about other initiatives as well, the Covenant of Mayors, which I know is your expertise to talk about, and how the Covenant of Mayors can actually also help strengthen collaboration between local leaders and the European institutions.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say thank you indeed for inviting me for a final stage, because it's always hard to be in a final stage, because everybody is willing to go home. But if we are discussing about cities and the mayors of the cities, I think each of us are willing to understand just one simple question. How green is green? And this is opportunity for Convent of Mayors to find out those answers. I would like to say it's the biggest opportunity for the cities and regions to be a partner, because you will get information from 1,200 different institutions. Therefore, from starting this initiative, everybody was a little bit afraid, because it's always green, it's always expensive. But nowadays, for example, also an experience of my city, Liepāja, we are making solutions which is also saving the money, not only spending the money. Therefore, I would like to say it's a wonderful support which is provided by Committee of Regions. I'm really happy that there is also so many members of Committee of Regions. It means the issue of environment and climate change is important in Europe. Therefore, once again, I would like to say, those who are not participating, you have to do it now, and you will save money and save environment.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being part in that closing session. Marcus, I would move on to you to tell us a bit about the European Urban Forum within the European Parliament. Tell us a bit about its role, how it can support the city's mission, so we understand that as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to this closer session. You know, everyone has listened to me say that this is going to be the term of the cities and urban areas in the European Parliament, in the European institutions, because we need to implement and deploy all the legislation that we adopted past term, especially related to climate change, and the majority of them is into cities. Then, we are in the European Parliament. We don't have a committee related to cities or urban areas. We represent citizens, but cities are not represented on the European Parliament. Cities are represented on the Committee of Regions, but not in the Parliament directly. And issues related to cities are spread in different committees. Regi Committee, in which I am a member, we deal with urban and regional funding. ITRE Committee with missions. We have more committees, but there is no specific platform to debate about the future of cities. What do we want for cities and urban areas? So we decided to create this European Urban Forum. But we wanted to go further. We didn't want to talk among members of the Parliament isolated of the world. We wanted to listen and to engage the society, the civil society, and we opened the European Urban Forum to stakeholders. Now we have a platform, and multi-group platform, co-chair, I am the chair, but there are 2 vice chairs coming from 2 different groups, so we are 3 political groups, the 3 main political pro-European groups, S&D, EPP, and Renew groups, chairing this European Urban Forum, and we have more than 40 members coming from 7 political groups of the 8 political groups of the Camera of the European Parliament involved in this European Urban Forum, and we have around 90, between 90 and 100 stakeholders that come from different parts of the society involved in urban issues. We have cities, we have Eurocities, CEM Air, we have Local Alliance, we have Energy Cities. We have a lot of organizations that involve cities governance, but we have builders, we have promoters, we have housing organizations, we have architects, we have, for sure, we have not the stakeholders, but the support of the European Commission. We were very proud when, in the launching of our platform, two vice presidents were present, 2 executive vice presidents, Mrs. Rivera and Mr. Fito, present on this launching event. We have stakeholders coming from cultural heritage that also deals with cities. Every stakeholder that wants to be involved, and now I invite you, cities missions, European Urban Initiative, all the institutional activities and organizations that are related to urban and cities are welcome to participate. And what is our purpose? Our purpose is to organize debates inside the parliament, to put in contact all these civil society and stakeholders with the legislators, to explain, to debate, and to push the legislator into the importance of the cities that we have. We have organized the first debate about affordable housing. He knows very well. And we are going to launch in 1 or 2 weeks a series of 5 next debates. I can assure that the first one will be about urban mobility. The second one will be about funding of the cities, very similar to the debate that we held this morning here in this platform. So I think it's going to be very useful, because this term, apart from what I have said, we have to start debating the next MFF. We are starting to debate the midterm revision, a legislative revision before the midterm review of the cohesion policy. And we have to debate such a lot of things related to cities that it is very important that you, mayors, researchers, architects, constructors, builders, can make arrive your concerns, your suggestions, your contribution to the policymakers. I will only put an example and end here. Yesterday we voted for the next MFF opinion, an initiative report on the Parliament expressing the position of the Parliament for this following MFF 28-34. And it has a paragraph dedicated to funding on cities. It has been negotiated among members, but the majority of the members that try to support this paragraph are part of the European Urban Forum. So if you can lobby there, lobby is a strange word that sometimes we are afraid, but we are telling that you are carrying the voice of the cities and putting this voice into the legislator. And the best place to do that is our new forum, the European Urban Forum. You can join us also in LinkedIn and social networks, and you can follow our debates. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Organizing debate and having that dialogue definitely sounds crucial. And I think who's important to have as part of the dialogue is the youth representation as well. So Julia, I'm moving on to you. In March, there was the youth policy dialogue taking place in Warsaw. So I would be quite curious if you could share a bit from the youth perspective, what is it that's needed to accelerate the climate transition in cities? If you could give us some thoughts and examples from what you discussed there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you for inviting me here today. I'm very honored. I've had a pleasure to moderate the European Youth Dialogue in Warsaw in March, and we have to think about it and remember that that was a youth dialogue that only involved people from Poland. So that's the perspective from this specific group of young Europeans. But nonetheless, that was yet another opportunity for my foundation, the Important Issues Foundation, to do something we love to do and we think that we do quite well, which is to discuss important issues from the perspective of young people and to listen to their perspective and give them the platform to feel comfortable and share their thoughts and opinions. And what was unique when it comes to this youth dialogue is, first of all, we were discussing a very specific topic. It was quite a difficult conversation because we were holding simultaneously 3 discussions about how the cities should be developing in terms of accessibility, in terms of technology and protection of the environment. And the second thing that was very unique was the group itself, because the group consisted of 30 young people that were from all over Poland, not only Warsaw. And for some of them, it was one of many discussions about climate activism and environmental issues. But for some of them, it was actually the first discussion they've ever had in such a group about the climate action. And it was in English, and it was in front of the European Commissioner. So that was quite unusual. And that was a very exceptional opportunity for me to just listen to them. And now my task here is to just deliver the thoughts that they've shared. And I'll try to do it as best as I can. So I've divided them into two groups. And the first one is a group of ideas that would probably not come off as a surprise for you, because I'm sure that you've heard them before. But I think it's important to remind you about the fact that it's still important for young people. So first of all, they talked very often about better, safer, and cheaper public transport. And that came mostly from people from the rural areas, because in Poland, mostly in big cities, we don't have a problem with public transport. It's very good. But for the kids in the rural areas, they are still very dependent on the cars, on their cars, or the cars of their parents, because they cannot reach the bigger areas without it. So they were to say that if we want to cut the carbon emissions, if we want to cut the number of cars that we see, then we have to provide them with a good alternative, with a good, accessible public transport. The second thing was the thermal modernization programs. We've had ones in Poland, but they were still very heavy on the accessibility, so that it doesn't involve a financial burden on the people who are not so privileged. And then the obvious one, green spaces in the cities. Over the last couple of years, Polish mayors had a thing for concrete on the main squares. So I think that young people are quite tired of that, and they are very much saying a lot about the green spaces, the cycling infrastructure, so that was something. And then the last one of the obvious ones is the access to green energy sources and investment in them. But there are also those not so obvious ideas. And I think the most important thing that really stuck with me is the need for strategic solutions to tackle natural disasters. And in Poland, and I'm sure we're not an exception here, we've experienced heat waves, we've experienced flooding. And I think that young people see that the cities are not really prepared for the disasters that have such a scale, in terms of resources, in terms of planning, in terms of human resources as well. And it's a matter of their safety, really. So that's very important for them to be prepared, because it's only going to happen more often, right? So that was something that was new to me when it comes to the discussions with young people. And they were also heavy on innovation. They had one specific idea of city apps that should integrate all of the city's digital resources, knowledge, programs that they are already doing, for them to just have a quick access to them. But there was also a topic of support to young startups, young innovators, young entrepreneurs, because as they said, young people have a lot of good ideas, but they lack funds. So that's something we can provide them with. And all of this to say, just concluding it, while we still connect the climate topic to youngsters, naturally, we think climate, we think Gen Z, we, at least in Poland, see a drop of the climate engagement, and even the recognition of this topic as one of the top priorities when it comes to social issues. And the question is why? I don't have the answer to that after the dialogue. Maybe it's the backlash that the climate activists are facing online and sadly also offline. Maybe it's the switch of priorities also in the European Union, as we've seen in the Polish presidency. So it's mostly about safety, and I'm sure if we're talking about Polish citizens, young citizens, if they're afraid of their safety, of the safety of their country, their borders, then the climate goes second or maybe third. But still, our foundation has conducted representative research on young people in Poland in November of 24, and we see the potential. The potential is still there, the energy is still there. 80% of people are saying that they're going to take part in the national election. 80% of them believe that social engagement and activism can change the world for the better. So it's just our part to kind of accumulate this energy and let them do their job, really. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that I truly believe that we do not only have to listen to young people. I'm sure that you've heard it before a couple of years ago and maybe recently, but that was the easy part of the job. We also have to talk with them as equals. We have to talk with them as partners, but we also have to report what we're doing to them. We have to report our successes, but we also have to report what's the road ahead of us. Because imagine if someone asked you what are your problems, your needs, your perspective, and then never came back with a feedback or a follow-up. That would be quite frustrating, right? So I think that we have to think about the dialogue with young people as a process and not as a series of events. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much that you brought all these important issues, and you obviously did a good job in listening and also bringing the reports to us with those very clear and concise examples. So thank you for that. Patrick, this almost sounds like the agenda for next year's Cities Mission Conference, I would say. I would still like to give you the chance, since I asked Matthew, though, if you are happy with those 3 days that just passed from your perspective.
No, well, Katerina, thank you very much. And it's really great, but somewhat moving to be right in the end of this magnificent 3 days of discussions and hard work together. I'd like to start by thanking a few people. Obviously, the city of Vilnius for hosting this event and providing this wonderful venue, for the excellent hospitality that we've enjoyed throughout the conference. I'd also like to thank the organizing team, the colleagues from, in particular, the Net Zero Cities platform and from ICLE, as well as the team in DG Research and Innovation, the mission team, who have worked night and day to bring us to this successful point. So really well done, and thanks to all of you. Thanks also to you, Katerina, for keeping us awake and motivated and challenged with both physical and intellectual activity. Thanks to all of the speakers. Thanks to all the speakers, and I include Matthew, on this occasion.
So you will be invited again.
No, but really, I mean, what really for me has been the marking sort of characteristic of this event has been just how interactive it has been. That not just in these plenary sessions, but in the many smaller breakout groups, that we found opportunities for conversations that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And for me, that's at the heart of what the mission is about. It's about creating connection and getting people working together around this vitally important shared objective in ways that we wouldn't have seen before. And the fact that we've got a record number of participants here, more than 900 people participating in person in this conference, more than we've had ever before, for me is the best confirmation that the mission is achieving a lot of its objectives. And it is important. We are working in a different, changing political context. Nevertheless, I mean, the cities and climate remain very much in the Commission's priorities. President von der Leyen has stressed that we need to keep the ambition on the European Green Deal, deliver on our objectives, and we have opportunities to connect that up also with the debate on competitiveness, economic success. As we look at the numbers which were published by Bankers Without Boundaries a few hours ago, of the investment opportunity, including in particular for the private sector in cities, which will produce not only the climate benefits that we're all working so hard to produce, but also net benefits in economic and commercial terms. I mean, the figures that they've got of an overall investment of 307 billion euros in the 100 cities in the mission, producing benefits of 394 billion. So a net benefit of 87 billion euros for the cities taken together. And those are very powerful figures. at a time when we're all wondering and worrying about how Europe is navigating an increasingly competitive global economic landscape. We also have an opportunity as we look forward, and I know the purpose of this session is a bit to look forward, to see how the city's mission can contribute to important dimensions of the Commission's future work. Vice President Fito, who was one of the vice presidents who attended the event in the European Parliament, has been tasked specifically with developing a new urban agenda, and many of you are contributing, I know, to the consultation which is ongoing on that. But we have an opportunity really to put the work that we've been doing on the city's mission at the center of that. We also, as we think about the funding, see opportunities to anchor more centrally the work we're doing in the mission in the next proposals for the multi-annual financial framework. Okay, that only comes on stream in 2028, so very much at the end of our sort of period of the 2030 climate neutrality goal, but still it is an agenda where we have a lot to offer, I believe, in terms of what we've been achieving through the mission. And so if I think about what I'm taking away from this conference, it's probably three things. I mean, firstly, that we need to keep being creative and exploring new ways of engaging with the private sector. Businesses of all sizes are open to dialogue and enthusiastic to seize the sort of opportunities that investment in clean solutions and climate policies in cities offer, but we need to find the ways of having that conversation. Secondly, we need to deepen the relationship with national governments through the national platforms, many of which are now really solidly anchored around the capacities network and more widely. But still the connection with the regulatory and legislative agenda is not always perfectly achieved, and we need to work on that. And thirdly, and finally, we need to keep the citizens, our people, in the front of our minds. I mean, I think it was really very exciting that Commissioner Zacharyeva indeed decided to make her first youth dialogue specifically with the city of Warsaw in its capacity as a city in the mission. And I think that sort of, bringing the city's mission as a sort of natural convening platform to talk directly to people who are so impacted by the work that we're doing, and to do that in new and creative ways is something we need to continue to work on. So, thank you all for coming to Vilnius. I think we were all delighted to discover what a beautiful and green place it is. Wonderful that it's also the European Green Capital for 2025. And thank you all for your really energetic and constructive participation, because in the end, that's what it's all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the five of you. We said at the beginning of those 3 days that it's all about celebration, innovation, and stepping into action. So I hope that all of you actually took some ideas, some inspirations, some learnings from those past 3 days, but above all, some connections, because in the end, this is what you will probably take away most when you go back to your projects, when you go back to your cities, that you have new contacts, new allies, new friends, new collaborators who can support you in actually making your city one of those smart cities and sustainable cities. And so we can together really create that beautiful and sustainable Europe that we all envision together. And with this I say thank you so much to all of our speakers. Thank you so much to all of you. And my last announcement for now is that we now have the tours around Vilnius that are going to start. So there will be buses waiting for you outside. 2 are going to the tech city, 2 are going to the SEND offices, and 1's going to the city center, just for those who are not joining a tour. And there are also some bicycle and scooters outside in case you want to join the Sustainable Vilnius tour, in case you have registered for any of them. And with this, I say thank you so much. I hope you had a wonderful time, and I look forward to seeing you again next year in another beautiful and sustainable city somewhere in Europe. Goodbye.